And then with 0 degrees, you can also write 360 degrees. Because all the way around would be 360. And we could keep going and do more coterminal, but we're just going to go once around our circle, 0, 90, 180, 270. Then in green, 0 degrees in radians is 0, 360 is 2 pi. I'm thinking about which one I could probably label easiest next. Well, 180 is pi. 90 is half of 180. So in radians, we're going to write this as pi divided by 2. And if 90 is pi divided by 2, 270, which is 390s, would be 3 pi over 2. Now in our legend, we wrote the coordinates are related to our big idea. One of our big ideas in this unit was that on the unit circle, your x-coordinate is cos, your y-coordinate is sine. Okay? But we can label these coordinates super easily because we know that the radius is 1. So this first dot, if you moved 1 to the right, does it make sense that your x-coordinate would be 1 and your y-coordinate is still 0? If you moved up 1, your x-coordinate would be 0, your y-coordinate would be 1. Moving 1 to the left, your x-coordinate would be -1, your y-coordinate would be 0. And moving down 1, your x-coordinate would be 0, and your y-coordinate would be -1. And you have just provided yourself a method with the first angles you need to memorize for your trig functions. For example, okay, I'm going to pick someone to be the first volunteer. And it's going to be Bassam. You get to pick anybody in class to answer the following question. What is sine of 90 degrees? You can now do that without your calculator, just using the information we've drawn on here. Normally, you would have had to do sine of 90 degrees using your calculator, but now, from the big idea, you can get that answer. So, Bassam, you pick someone to answer. Sine of 90 degrees?
James.
James. So we look at our big idea. The coordinates, the x-coordinate is cos of the angle. The y-coordinate is sine of the angle. So if you went to 90 degrees and you looked at those coordinates, what would sine of 90 degrees be? 1. Perfect. You're going to pick the next volunteer. What is cos of pi? Who are you going to pick?
F.
Cos of pi. Close. Okay. So if we're going to, the angle of pi is here. Here are our coordinates. The big idea says that on the unit circle, the x-coordinate is cos, the y-coordinate is sine. So if I wanted to find cos of pi, it would equal so here's the idea.
Yeah.
The coordinates are cos and sine.
Yeah.
So I go to pi, here's my coordinates. So this -1 means cos of pi is -1. And sine of pi would be 0. Okay, you got to pick the next volunteer. We're going to do cos of 270 degrees. 10. 0. So you went to 270 degrees, looked at the coordinates. Cos is the x-coordinate. So this is how you have these values now memorized. Right? If I say, what's sine of pi over 2? I go to pi over 2. Sine is the y-coordinate. It's going to be 1. If I say, what's cos of 2 pi? 2 pi ends here. Cos is the x-coordinate. Cos of 2 pi would be 1. We can also use the big idea for tangent that if tangent is sine divided by cos, I can look at my coordinates and I can now write that tan of 0 would be 0 over 1, which is just equal to 0. Tan of pi over 2, and I'll do it all in radians, would be sine divided by cos, which would be 1 over 0. This is not possible, so we write undefined. Undefined, or not possible. Tan of pi would equal negative, or it would equal 0 over negative 1. So tan of pi is equal to 0. And tan of 3 pi over 2 is undefined again, because it would equal negative 1 over 0. So because we can label points with a radius of 1 super easily, we can now figure out values without our calculator. If we know these values, then we can figure them out just by looking at the unit circle. What's sine of 90 degrees? 1. What's cos of 90 degrees? 0. Right? What's tan of pi? 0. And so the expectation is these will be values that when you hear them, you're going to think of your unit circle and be able to say the answer. As we do more and more practice, it will become faster. Right? You'd be able to just go tan of 3 pi over 2, undefined. Sine of 0, that's going to equal 0. So this is our first one. Bring the same colors that you used today to tomorrow's class, because we're going to do the other families tomorrow.